A good day, everybody. I'm just trying to get everybody up as speakers and co-hosts, so give me a moment. Robbie, I did send you an invite to speak. Um, just if you didn't see it, that's fine because it flashes by fast sometimes. Just click the request button in the bottom left corner and we will get you up as a speaker, lickety split. Give me just a moment to get folks in their places. Thank you. Hey, Brian, you there, bud?
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. How about you?
I am great.
Awesome. And hey, Robbie, good evening to you. Click that speaker button on the bottom left corner, Robbie.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes. Good evening, sir.
Okay. And good morning, Sherry. Good morning, Brian. Nice to hear you both.
Thanks. Same to you. And Donna Morton has joined us, so she'll be a speaker with us too. So I know you know that name.
Hello, Donna. Long time no speak.
Hey, Robbie, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
I missed you in Malta.
I missed Malta. I've had the great fortune of being there three times, maybe four times already. It's close, but it's just like there's no direct flight, so it makes it a little further than I'd hoped.
I get it right over to Sherry.
Thank you, Donna. And I'm going to do a couple of house cleaning things first, and then we'll get rocking and rolling. First, I'm going to say this is a pro Israel space, and we will not be having any political debates today. And so, if folks pop in with that in mind, we're going to shut it down because that's not what we're here to do today. That's a discussion for another day. Second, I want to thank our sponsor Elevator Results. Many thanks to them. If you need a tailor-made workout program due to injuries, health, or otherwise, Elevator Results can help you lose weight or gain weight. Check out their Twitter account or their webpage at elevatorresultspt.com. Please give them a follow. We thank them for being with us since the beginning of Brian and I doing this last summer. Also, I need to pay a little respects to my friend Chris Wood, who we lost this week.
I'm sorry, my darling.
Oh,
so sorry.
Thank you. And to all of his family and friends in Savannah, we are with you in thoughts and prayers.
May his memory be for a blessing.
Thank you. Now, let's get into our awesome guest that has joined us. And yes, I'm getting sick, so my voice is going in and out, and hopefully it's going to be mostly in. I am so happy Robbie Strazynski, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, has joined us today.
Well, it's good to be here. It's good there's a lot of faces and names that I know and I see all the time, but we don't actually get to interact. So this is fun, and hopefully whoever's listening to the space in real time or after the fact will enjoy the show.
Well, I appreciate that. Now, let me give you a little introduction, proper that is. Robbie grew up in Southern California. Our guest is the co-creator of Poker Notes Live mobile app. He is also the founder of cardplayerlifestyle.com. Robbie has hosted or co-hosted several podcasts, including The Orbit, Cards Chat, the Red Chip Poker podcast, just to name a few. Robbie also translated Ellie Elizra. Oh my goodness. Elizra's. No, I'm saying that wrong.
Elezra.
Elizra. Thank you. I knew I was saying it wrong as soon as I started to say it. His autobiography, Pulling the Trigger he translated it from Hebrew to English. Robbie has won a GPI award for his charitable initiative, which we will talk about in a few moments. In 2021, Robbie founded and hosted his first mixed game festival, which, of course, is one of the big reasons we're here today, because he's about to hold the eighth one, which is very exciting. Many may not know that Robbie lives in Israel with his wonderful family. So before we dive into everything Mixed Games Festival and Robbie's poker, Robbie, would you please give us an update on conditions for you and your family in Israel?
Thank you for asking. We're doing okay. Like everything that you hear, in the news, it's certainly going on. As far as, our regular day-to-day life, let's just remember, not 330 million people in America live in the headlines. So the same token, not 9 million people here in Israel live in the headlines. We are trying to go about our day, kids going to school. We're trying to work. My wife's trying to work, doing laundry, going shopping, all that stuff. Even you think during like World War II, and you see however many movies are made about it, and however many stories are told, there were tens and tens of millions of stories happening of just people trying to go about and live as regular lives as they could while it was all going on. So that, I suppose, is the bucket that my family and I fall into.
Well, and we continue to support you, Israel, and we continue to pray for all that are
I
involved.
sincerely appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Now we're going to talk about you a little bit before we get into the Mixed Game Festival. You were a member of the WSOP main event player bios team for Poker Productions. Can you tell us what that entailed?
Sure. So, when you guys, when we all watch the main event, the most televised poker event that there is every single year. So there, now it's on Poker Go. The production team, the professionals who handle that under the stewardship of Poker Hall of Famer Maury Eskandani, it's a big operation you've got to run. And, if you've ever been in person, you see all of the cameras, all the people running around with little microphones and headsets and all that other kind of stuff. So there's a lot of behind the scenes going on. And for the main event, that regular team that they have, that expands further because they just try to get even more coverage. We have, not just one feature table, but 3 feature tables. And at the end of the day, when, you're watching it, the broadcasters don't necessarily know. It's not like an invitational. It's at random, who gets assigned to which table. So you'll have folks scouting, okay, let's say you got, 3 Hall of Famers and 2 multi-bracelet winners at a table. Chances are that's one that's going to demand a little extra attention. It'll appear on the cameras. But who are those other people? So the player bios team, myself and, colleagues of mine, what we were responsible for is once we find out, okay, this is going to be a featured table, we just try to get them to fill in some information on clipboards, some prepared questions. And if anything sort of stands out to us as, notable, interesting, let's probe that further and try to ask them and take down those notes, basically just gathering that information. And once we've got it, we pass that along to the commentary team. Once we have the names, we can, kind of like look and check their tournament results on Hendon Mob and other places for, how much have they won in the past. That's the kind of stuff when you look on screen and you see, okay, they've won 3 WPT titles or 2 Poker Go Cups or something like that. Well, we try to like research that information, find all of that. And all of this is kind of done in real time because as the tournament continues, it's very dynamic. Things change. Someone gets eliminated. You may have done research. Well, someone else is now taking that seat. So it's kind of like a constant thing happening behind the scenes, continuously feeding it to the broadcast teams. And then that's what eventually gets broadcast when you're watching it. So it's a behind the scenes role, but a very exciting and interesting one. And the days are very, very long during the main event. You're on your feet a lot.
And on behalf of the audience, all of that stuff you're gathering and spewing to us is exactly what we look forward to. And so we appreciate that effort and that hard work that goes into it. And so when I read that you're a part of that team, I was very excited to be able to ask you about it.
I'm very grateful to have had that opportunity for 3 summers in a row. I got to meet a lot of really cool people. And, it's the kind of thing also of like when we're watching, we kind of, just sort of expect the broadcast to come to us naturally. But, it's a cool thing to sort of see that behind the scenes machinery in motion, and you gain such a tremendous respect from the inside of like the hard work that entire team is sort of putting in to make that final product happen that we see on screen and that we hear from the commentators. Like it's a real team effort, and it's noted across the board. We thank the commentators for mentioning little notes of ours. They thank us for bringing those tidbits to their attention, et cetera. So it's a real great team effort, and they are super professional at what they do. And the industry is lucky to have Poker Productions.
Well, and we're very happy that they're around. Go ahead, Brian. Were you going to ask a question or make a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Robbie, I think that is key to everything that the broadcast is all about. When you go back, one of the reasons why people say the early days, the broadcast was really, just like amazing is because these fields were so much smaller and they could cover the story a lot easier. So you bringing that in there is so huge. It's something that I think Maury's been able to, and your team have been able to kind of start to bridge that gap. I know they struggled, 2003, 2004, all of a sudden they have thousands of people, and how do you cover these people who you don't know at the beginning? It's a lot different when you have a couple hundred people to work with versus thousands. So I think
For sure.
that
And also when you move like from one venue to the other, when we move from the Rio to the Horseshoe Paris setup, you have to get, acclimated with those new surroundings. But, again,
right.
I'm just kind of like, I was brought on as hired help for those 3 summers during the main event. There's stalwarts who are there day in and day out throughout the year in the Poker Go studio, et cetera. Definitely doing, some incredible work. And also, it's important to give kudos where it's due. Just like when we approach the poker table, we try to get better with every session. Even if we had like a sun run and everything went right, you look, how can you improve? You review the tape kind of a thing, without revealing any, industry secrets or anything like that. That team, that's part of why they're so professional. The amazing job they do, notwithstanding, they always go over and review. How did we do this last summer? How can we improve? What can we do better? And it clearly shows as they get better from year to year.
And we are thankful for it. Now, I never like to assume, so I'm going to ask who has joined us under the Moneymaker business account. Who is now my speaker?
It's Tony. I'm listening in just here on the floor in West Palm Beach and listening in on the conversation today.
Well, I'm glad you are, Tony. You're always welcome. You want to give us a little update on what you're doing down there, and then we're going to get back with Robbie, and he could tell us about Vegas.
Absolutely appreciate the opportunity to speak. Don't want to take too much time away from the focus of Robbie's upcoming festival, which we're happy to be the title sponsor for. We're just wrapping up an event here in West Palm Beach. We've got a $1,500 main event with a $300K guarantee lined up here in sunny Florida. And then all eyes, as I posted yesterday, going to be on Vegas and getting the Moneymaker Tour to Las Vegas for the first time, June 28th through July 6th at the MGM Grand.
So much exciting stuff, Tony. You're doing a great job, and people are having a blast with what you're doing. And, your attendance has been skyrocketing since day one, and it's awesome.
Yeah, the numbers have been, it's hard to believe that we're creeping up on the 1-year anniversary of our first stop. It's been a great year plus with Chris. Obviously, those of us that know him know the type of gentleman he is. And it's been a pleasure to work for him and grow his brand. And like I said, it's a real full circle for me, because Chris got me into poker. Obviously, leaving the Hard Rock was a difficult decision for my family, but saw the opportunity with Chris and the vision that he had to leave his legacy behind, not only for the game, but his family. And being a family man myself, it was just a marriage that made sense.
Well, and we are happy that marriage took place. Uh, because you guys are doing great things. And I know Robbie is happy to have you guys as a partner for Vegas. And he's going to start to tell us all about that in a minute. So good luck there in Florida. And I'll see you in Vegas, Tony.
Yeah, yes, see you there. We're happy to help the growth of the mixed game community. That was one of the things Chris told me that he wanted to do when I joined, and I've actually been talking to Robbie, well, even before joining the Moneymaker Tour, but really since day one, we've been trying to find a way to collaborate with one another. And, with being an MGM and this being a sister property, it was once again another partnership that made perfect sense. So we look forward to seeing everybody. Look forward to splashing around. When I told Chris I plan on playing some mixed games this summer, he goes, "Oh, so you're planning on burning money?" So that was the needle of the morning. So
Well, I won't be there for those dates, but I hope somebody gets some Tony Burns chippies.
I hope not. All right. Well, y'all have a great one. I'll continue to listen, but just here on the floor, and appreciate the opportunity to speak. I hope everybody has a great day.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate you, bud. Okay, Robbie, I have a few more personal questions, so to speak, in your
Sure.
poker life, and then we'll get on to Vegas, okay? Because I just think,
Absolutely.
I always like for us to have the opportunity to get to know the person before we talk about the business, right? And so,
Sure.
as I mentioned, you won a GPI award for your charity initiative. Um, and I know the name of it was Running Well. Could you
Yes.
explain to our audience the whole concept of Running Well and what you did for that charity, please?
Sure. So basically, it's typical, let's say in a marathon, that the runner has sponsors and tries to raise money for charity, something like that. I'm like, well, I'm not going to go and run any marathon, but maybe, I want to do this running thing anyway and try to be in, decent physical condition. But to set a goal for yourself kind of ensures that you'll keep at it beyond just, that New Year's resolution. So I said to myself, well, if I try to set a goal of 1,000 kilometers. Here in Israel we do kilometers, so it's about 670 miles or so. And see if someone would come along for, let's say, 10 cents a kilometer or $1 a kilometer, something like that. Then maybe we could raise some money for a good cause. So the charity, I actually did it 3 years in a row, that initiative, and over that time we had two different charities who are beneficiaries. One was Kids Kicking Cancer. The other one was called Save a Child's Heart. Both of them just phenomenal charities. Just go ahead and Google their names, Kids Kicking Cancer and Save a Child's Heart, just to sort of raise money for those very special, actually Israel-based charities, but they do work worldwide and have multiple branches all across the globe. So the idea being just, making sure I hit my target of the running and then kind of carrying along all these people. Now I can't disappoint them. I want to hit my 1,000-kilometer target, usually 5 or 10 at a time, week after week. And as I get closer to that finish line, more people start paying attention. Oh, okay, sure, I'll throw in $50 to sponsor. I'll throw in $100 to sponsor. So by the end of the year, we had managed to raise $10,000 for the charity, which was really cool. We had over, I think, 50 or 60 individual donors who just, small amounts, nothing. I think the biggest one was $1,000, and that was, I believe, if I recall, it's 6 years already. But Poker Stars, who I believe kind of like did the big donation, like did a big sponsorship there. But everyone else was like individual donors, sometimes as little as $5. But people who sort of got involved and said, hey, this is a cool thing. Let's, kind of like cheer Robbie on as he approaches that finish line. I made it, and it felt pretty darn good. I didn't do it to win any sort of awards, but when I got contacted by the GPI saying, hey, we want to recognize that charitable initiative, that was pretty mind-blowing. And, when I received that little statuette, I showed my kids. I was like, this is the kind of thing they can never take away from you. Something to be really proud of, that, we did something good in the world, raised some money for charity, and, brought people along with it.
Good. That is an amazing story, Robbie. And congratulations on winning that award because you worked hard on something you believed in. And I think that's a great lesson for kids across the world, for sure. Would you please explain to us what your Poker Notes Live app will do for us and where we can find it?
Okay, so that admittedly is I don't really work on it much anymore. It's just sort of that something that I did, and it is still out there. It's a very basic app whereby the original idea behind it, I conceived it back in 2012. So, my God, it's been 12 years already. So the idea behind it was, how, online, if you're playing poker, then you always have that little note functionality. Oh, take a little note on the
Right.
player next to you or in general. So I was like, well, why can't you do that while you're playing live poker? And this is, just your own observations, but instead of having like a pen and paper or a little notepad, you just have a little app. So it's kind of like a cute little app. It looks like a poker table, but there's no like RTA. You could have like, you think you spot a tell, but it's not actually a tell. Like you think you spot something. It's your own notes, So it just
Right on.
it kind of just enables you to jot your thoughts down and see if you can remember it. It is available on Android in the Google Play Store, and I think it's been a long time. I think it's like $4.99. The last kind of big push of work that I did for it was just trying to get it enabled in like the app itself translated into 9 or 10 different languages. I haven't promoted it much, but it is still out there. I know that there's, certainly better, more, intense and high level apps out there. But for those, you're usually paying $25, $50 even, stuff like that, even if it's 18 or a monthly fee. This was a very simple $4.99, one kind of payment. And you can just kind of utilize it for your own poker note taking, whether it's in a home game or in, a casino or something. And it's very straightforward. If someone from the floor says, hey, you can't use that, you show them exactly what it is, they won't object. I've had numerous poker room managers say, oh yeah, that's totally cool. It's just a high-tech way of taking notes.
Well, and I'm going to mention it again, Poker Notes Live app, mobile app,
Thank you.
because I think that there is always somebody out there that app can be useful in their life. So
Thank you.
you're absolutely welcome. I'm going to give a little shout out to Brian because I know somebody's going to, ask me why Brian's here and why did I switch the ad to that. I was only hosting, because there's trolls out there. Brian initially gave me today as a day he could do the interview with you, Robbie. And then he realized he had an appointment, which, things happen. So then he couldn't come, but then he pushed his appointment back and let me know this morning. So I'm so happy you're here, Brian. Do you have any questions or comments?
I'm so sorry. I couldn't believe that. I was like, and I went and looked. I'm like, wait,
Oh, no, you're
Robbie.
cutting out, but
Yesterday, oh, anyway, yesterday I was all ready to do it. She's like, it's tomorrow, Brian. Oh my God.
he texted me at 2 minutes after 10. Why aren't you starting a space yet? And I was like, because it's Tuesday.
I
Time
scroll
time
up and I'm
zones get
like,
a little confusing. So
oh, oh no. So anyway, but it's great talking with you today too. Um, yeah, I don't have anything. I want to make sure we save part of the time for Robbie to talk about Vegas and all the stuff
Yes, I just want to
helps
make
with.
sure that you had a chance, if you had anything on his personal life in poker or whatever, before we dive into the Mixed Game Festival at the Bellagio in Las Vegas. Robbie, give us the times, the dates.
sure, it'll be from June 16th through 20th, Sunday through Thursday.
And what is going to be your? I know that the Bellagio, our friend, I'm sure Sean McCormick had something to do with this, is starting off your festivities with a pizza party.
Yeah, so I mean, let's put it this way. Sean didn't just have something to do with this. If Sean wasn't involved in cooking behind the scenes, this event doesn't happen. So massive shout out to Sean. He's a wonderful guy and always appreciated everything he does, at his job. But beyond that, just having that greater desire to expand the game of poker and promote it, in every possible way for women, for senior citizens, for mixed games, for Hold'em, for PLO, like doing everything within his power to just promote it. And, when I was first talking to him about it this summer, he said, yeah, it's important to us. He's the head of poker operations across, the MGM international brands now, to also say, hey, mixed games are an important part of the game too. So, the fact that he, helped make this happen was very, very instrumental. And similar kudos to Craig Larson, who's the director of poker at Bellagio, for also being open to it. The fact of the matter is, during the World Series, the Las Vegas is full of poker players. You go into any poker room and it's just, popping. It's hard to find seats. So the fact that, they said, okay, we're going to go ahead and dedicate space. We're going to give you guys some tables and make sure that the Mixed Game Festival happens. It's a huge, huge thing, especially for the legendary 5-star Bellagio. So it's our first time there. Super excited to go to a new property. It happens to be right across the street from, the biggest thing going in town, which is pretty awesome. So maybe we'll get some extra foot traffic. And, the main item on the menu is low stakes mixed games.
And
the
lots
origin.
of people are excited, Robbie. I'm going to tell you, there's a buzz. Lots of people are
That's awesome.
excited. It's going to be easy walking distance from a lot of hotels and casinos where people are staying. And the buzz is good. And, thank God Sean McCormick is such a proponent and supporter of all things poker. And I know that he's, working hard to make this a wonderful event like he does with everything. And so is Craig Larson. Tell us what your first kickoff event is.
So that's the thing, and it's a normal thing, just like when, people say, oh, poker. So the instant thing is to think Texas Hold'em. It's almost become synonymous, but, it takes that, wait a sec, there's other stuff. So in the same way, when you think, okay, there's a festival going on, what's the tournament schedule? What's it going to be released, right? But that's not necessarily, I kind of go against the grain a little bit. So sometimes we have a tournament or two. This time around, there isn't going to be any tournaments that you can find. Again, it says during the World Series, there's no shortage of poker tournaments throughout the entire city of Las Vegas, every single venue that you go to. So ours is meant to kind of be like the low stakes cash game hangout. So while you're on the tournament grind, you need a break, come hang out for an hour or two, play some mixed games. Or you have a big mixed game tournament coming up. You're playing a $1,500 dealer's choice bracelet event. Come get your reps in first at the Mixed Game Festival at Bellagio. You want to play with the pros, splash around, and say you beat, Hall of Famer Linda Johnson out of a $100 pot playing 4-8 Omaha 8 or better. Good luck, first of all, because she won't let you win.
Well, can you see that I have egg on my face? I'm not a mixed game player because I just didn't even realize that it was cash only games. So,
there are. I just wanted to clarify. You can play mixed game tournaments, but what I'm saying is that during our festival, it's going to be cash games only. In the past, we've done tournaments.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was a mixture of both at your festival. So I'm sorry for absolutely not processing that. So tell us. I have some questions from all of our favorite. Maureen Bloklinger is probably listening, but she's not in a position today where she can actually come in and ask questions. So she posted a few, and so I'm going to ask the questions, and hopefully you will have the amazing answers that you always do.
Perfect.
Question number 1: Can a beginner attend mixed games? Can a beginner attend the Mixed Game Festival?
Absolutely. And this is the perfect thing to attend. Our stakes go as low as 4-8, but it's important to tell all the Hold'em players, which is most people out there, it's not like 4 times as high as your 1-2 table. This is limit poker. So in other words, when a bet goes in, it's $4. If someone wants to raise, they can only raise it to $8. They raise again, it's 12. So you can sit there with a $100 rack of, $1 chips or 2 racks or something, and that can last you for a very long time. You can make lots and lots of mistakes, and you'll still have some chips left. This is the perfect opportunity to learn mixed games. And just to sort of illustrate this beginner idea, I have had very, very talented and well-regarded poker pros come in to the Mixed Game Festival in the past, never really have played Hold'em. Like they'll come there and like they're come straight off like a Hustler Casino live stream where they're playing for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And like I'm trying to explain Raz or 7-card stud high-low to them. And like I could wipe the floor with these guys. You know what I mean? But they came to learn how to play these games, and they do so at a low price point. So it's definitely for beginners. And also, quite frankly, and this is something I always say, no one's really coming to the Mixed Game Festival to print. People are coming to enjoy and have a great time. And everyone sitting around the table at our festivals, we're always eager to teach, help people. There's no such thing as a bad question. You can ask, or, if you shouldn't ask in the middle of a hand, you say, is it okay if I ask a question? The dealers also get excited to deal something that's not Hold'em. So it's the most beginner-friendly type of festival you'll have. And not only that, I'll also say, this is a good opportunity to kind of plug beyond just the games themselves. What make it festive is we've got all of these great sponsors bringing prizes and merchandise. And I even bring like chocolates and stuff. We're always giving things away. And specific shout out to Tony Burns, Chris Moneymaker, the Moneymaker Poker Tour. They're our title sponsor. Just for sitting there and being in the right seat at the right time and answering a question about Chris Moneymaker, you could win a $400 entry into a Moneymaker tournament. You know what I mean? So
so the moral to the story is get to studying, people, because you need to know everything Chris Moneymaker so you can win a seat. So there you go. You heard it here.
Exactly. So it's like super ultra beginner friendly. And even if you lose, I guarantee, like you can lose a few bucks, you lose a rack of chips, $100, you will walk away with having fantastic memories, a great time, and possibly even coming away with some cool prizes and merch.
That's awesome. All right, Maureen, second question. If you are a beginner, which game should you learn first?
So typically what's done is you'll learn what's called Horse, which is a 5-game variant. And that's because 2 of the games are already intimately familiar to poker players. First one, it stands for Hold'em, Omaha, Raz, Stud, and Stud 8 or better. The E is the 8 or better. So Hold'em and Omaha are pretty familiar to basically any poker player. Flop, turn, rivers, that sort of a thing. But the difference being it's limit poker. Right. So again, the incremental raises of, 4 units, 8 units, that sort of a thing. So that's already 2 out of the 5 games. But what that does is it helps you get your reps in and get used to this idea of limits as opposed to pot limit or no limit. Raz, Stud, and Stud 8 or better, they fall under the Stud category of games. It's a 7-card game, right? So we're at the best possible high hand. This used to be the game, by the way, Stud, before Hold'em became ultra popular. It's just, same order of hand rankings, but you get 2 cards down, 4 cards up, and then the last card down. There's a betting round after each card is distributed. The important thing about like any sort of stud game is just sort of card memory. There's no community cards or board that everybody uses. Everyone has their own board. So you have your whole cards and your 4 up streets and then your last card, and you make the best 5-card hand out of it. It's relatively simple to understand, but the idea you have to really pay attention to the other cards that the players have. But Raz, Stud, and Stud 8 or better, the 3, the R, S, and E in Horse, they all fall under the same category of games. So slightly long-winded, but that's the answer of like, if you're going to teach someone something beyond No Limit Hold'em in Pot Limit Omaha, that's the first thing to do is the 5-game variant of Horse And, when we do tournaments at the Mixed Game Festival, we'll usually have a horse tournament being one of them.
I think that's great advice, honestly. I appreciate that answer. Her question number 3 is, what is your favorite game and why?
At the risk of giving information about myself that could be used against me at the card table, I have a particular affinity for 7-card stud, stud and 8 or better, as well as deuce to 7 triple draw. Why? I don't know if I can really pinpoint it exactly why, but at least for the stud, I could certainly say one thing is that, especially because so many people come from Hold'em and from Omaha, they're not as good, so to speak, at remembering what other players' up cards were. Because let's say I fold, but there were 2 cards of mine up. If you don't remember that, one was a queen and both of them were clubs, and you're trying to get your club flush, that counts against you. So, you know what I mean? It's kind of important to. I'm sorry. Hold on. Oh,
No problem.
it's kind of important to remember that information, and I tend to remember it better than many players who I face. So that's the stud games. And deuce 7 triple draw, I don't know, I just like it. There's no rhyme or reason to it, but it's just fun to keep trying to improve your hand. It also gets expensive after a while if you don't, but it's fun.
Sounds like poker.
Yeah.
Question number 4. How many games are usually in the cash game mix?
Okay, well, that's a good question to ask, because there's no like definitive answer to that question. It often just sort of depends how many players you're playing against and on their preferences. So if, for example, I were to sit down with people who are relatively new to mixed games, what I would suggest is, before we start, everyone go ahead and pick one game, right? Your favorite game, or whatever it is that you're comfortable playing. So that's 8 people at a table. We'll play an 8-game mix, right? And it's up to, that's a pure dealer's choice. Like, each person at the table will pick that one game. If usually what ends up happening over time, if someone leaves and then someone new sits down, we'll say, hey, would you like to pick a game, or something like that. If it's a more intermediate and experienced collection of mixed game players, sometimes we'll each pick 2, possibly even 3 games to sort of start it out, and then you'll end up with a 14 or 20 game mix or something. It's there's no hard, correct or incorrect answer on this. Some people may prefer to say, look, we don't want to play any sort of draw games. We'll play flop games and we'll play stud games, and that's it. And other people will say, we only want to play draw games. We want drama hall, the crazy, wild stuff. So that's the thing. When you say no limit Hold'em, you know exactly what that is. When you say pot limit Omaha, you know exactly what that is. Mixed games, it's a little more complicated to explain.
Right on. Okay, her fifth, and final question is, does the order matter? And I'm
No.
assuming, go ahead.
It certainly does not matter. At the end of the day, when you're playing in a mixed game, you usually play anywhere from 6 to 8 hands of a game, like a full orbit of it, and then you move on to the next game. So eventually you'll get each game in the mix, just depending on how many games are in there. That's how long it'll take to make the full rotation of number of orbits.
Awesome.
What I would say, just as far as like a tip or recommendation, though, if you're going to have like an eclectic mix, you'd ideally want to have, I said there's the 3 main categories. There's flop, draw, stud. So you would ideally want to try and have a flop game followed by, let's say, either a draw or a stud game, and then followed by the third one, and then repeat. Because if you have, let's say, I don't know, stud followed by Raz, followed by stud 8 or better, followed by Raz Doogie, you're like, okay, wait, I want a flop game already. I want a draw game already. So try to kind of like have that, 3 category balance at all times.
Great advice. Excuse me. I want to give out a shout out to Maureen Bloklinger, who we just went over her questions. She is the founder of Globetrotting Poker Women and Globetrotting Poker. She's also the founder of the Poker Club in Davos, as well as the Women's Poker Calendar. And some people may forget she was also a co founder of Plon. Um, and she's a good friend of mine. And I'm so excited she sent those questions for you because I know you know her very well.
Thanks a lot, Maureen. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Donna, I'm going to turn it over to you for your questions.
First off, tell Sean more pizza's better.
More pizza is better.
You got it.
Tell him not to forget that more pizza is better.
Will do.
Who's been your favorite person to interview over the years? I mean, I know I first met you when you interviewed Kat in the Hilton.
Yeah. Wow. Goodness me. That was a special one. I remember that. That's a good question. I don't get asked that one, too often. Favorite is tough because honestly, like, let's say I know someone, I've been a fan of theirs, and then, finally I get to interview them. That's cool. But quite often, if I'll sit and interview somebody over a 15, 30 or 60-minute period of time, you think about that in life. Like, when do you, except for get together with lunch for someone, like it's pretty rare that you just spend like really intense, good, high quality time with someone. But as an interviewer, you do that all the time. And quite often at the end of that conversation, you say, wow, I just made myself a new friend. This is pretty darn cool. So, I mean, it's honestly, it's tough to pick a favorite. I will say that two of the coolest ones, among poker players that I ever got to do, I didn't do it in person, but the fact that I'm able to say I interviewed Phil Ivey, I interviewed Doyle Brunson is a cool thing, even though it was kind of like done by email. The fact that they agreed to do it, and I've got a couple of those on my website, very cool. Non-poker, I got to interview some cool celebrities. I got to interview Molly Bloom. You've heard of Molly's Game. I got to interview Norm Macdonald. Rest in peace, Norm. That was pretty incredible. Tony Hawk, the world famous skateboarder. I got to interview, what's his name? Paul Pierce, the NBA, Hall of Famer. So, like, I've gotten a lot of really cool ones, like just so many, it's kind of impossible to pick a favorite, to be honest with you.
Who would be your next person that you'd like to interview? If it could be anybody that you've not interviewed before, who would you choose and why?
That's a fantastic question. And it's funny because like this has always been like, the white whale of sorts. But it's kind of sort of ish becomes a little less relevant with time. I'd love to just sit down and have a chat with Chris Ferguson or Howard Lederer. Those are names of people, if you're newer to poker, they were the ones associated with running Full Tilt Poker, which, it's all associated with Black Friday. Again, like as time passes, it's now been, 13 years since that fateful day in April in 2011, but they were kind of at the center of it all. And they Howard did one set of interviews way back in the day with Poker News. Chris never really did anything beyond issuing a statement many, many years later. So it's not like I have any personal anything beef with either of them. I've never spoken with either of them, but honestly, just like any other person, I'd like to, be interested to sort of get to know them and, ask some honest questions, with no ulterior motive other than to try and hear from them after all this time that they've never really spoken about it, and not their side of the story, but just ask them, completely unbiased, honest questions, hear what they have to say, and thank them, for their time and for sitting with me. So again, it becomes less relevant with time because more people come into the game. Other people have forgotten, the kind of thing that, it never goes away fully, but, I guess fewer and fewer people find it as headline making, but that's a personal, that would be cool if that ever happened. And quite frankly, even if I never got to publicize it, it would be cool for me to have those conversations. And that's the kind of the attitude I always go into interviews with, is like, I want to take a personal interest in this person who I'm sitting with and, spending half an hour with. Well, that's where it kind of comes from. And if I get to publicize that and kind of make it known to the world and, get to share that, that's like a major bonus. That's how I look at it.
I love that. And I think old wounds heal, right? And so people tend to forget the details. They just know that it was a wound.
Yep, exactly.
Go ahead, Donna.
Are you taking any of your family over to the WSOP with you this year?
Oh, I wish it, but they don't fit in my suitcase, Donna. I would love to. In the past, my dad has come with me to Las Vegas. My wife has come once with me to Las Vegas, but it's not a hop, skip, and a jump. It's not even a domestic flight. It's very far. It's kind of expensive, but also, quite frankly, Miriam doesn't. My wife, she doesn't really have anything to do with or enjoy poker. So, if I'm playing or doing other stuff, she don't have anything to do. And that being the case, I'd want to spend all my time with her, and then I wouldn't be doing the poker stuff. So, there's a time and a place for everything as far as her. With my dad, it's not always so simple for him to come. Also, he's got other commitments he's got to make. But hopefully we will not have seen the last of our trips together. Hopefully he'll be able to join me. He was at my last mixed game festival, which was pretty darn cool.
Okay, I got to stop you. You got to
Yes.
touch on the fact that your dad played the main event last year.
He played in the WPT Championship.
Yes, talk about that.
That was kind of amazing. A lady named Amanda Botfeld, at the time she was working with WPT Global, put this contest out there. She having had her own experience where her father taught her to how to play poker, and then they got to tag team together in the WSOP. They finished third in the event together. So having had that, she came up with this idea of, hey, we've got a main event, a championship event package to give away for the World Poker Tour. This was not the last one, but in 2022. And she said, okay, respond to this tweet with a picture, of a verbal description of a family member or someone super close to you and why they deserve the package. And there were definitely more than 100 entries in this. And I just kind of put it out there of like, well, my dad taught me to play when I was 8 years old, and we've played together in our home game for over 20 years. And he's never really played in the tournament before. He's always been a mixed game player. He's never, it never was much for no limit hold'em. But I just think it would be super cool for him to have that kind of opportunity of a lifetime. Like it's weird to just go and never have played a tournament before and all of a sudden be in a 10K. But, after 40 something plus years of playing the game, to never have had any real tournament experience and all of a sudden get to have something like this with all of the pageantry that the WPT does so well, that'd be amazing. And Amanda picked, that story among the 100 plus and just revealed to my dad, hey, Dr. Joe, you won the package. So I was already going to WPT to report on it and cover it for my site. And, my dad accompanies me on the flight because he's got a package and he gets to play. So I get to write about him and just kind of see him sit down over there next to Ryan Lang, to Zhao Samao, to I think Lonnie Harwood.
Let me tell you, as a viewer looking in, it was a great story. And it was awesome to see the pictures of your dad's face, and you could just see he was so elated, and it was awesome for you to, for us to see how elated you were for your dad. It was just such a great experience to witness from the outside in. And tell us, how did he do in the tournament?
So I will begin with, first, thanks for saying that. I'll begin with just by saying, obviously I kind of have to still walk the floor and cover it, but I've got, my eye on my dad the entire time. I think he played day 1C. And, I'm sitting, I see all these people at the table, all the pros who I mentioned, right? All these typical, it's just another 10K kind of a thing for these pros. And at the first or second break, so my dad comes up to me, he says, I think I'm doing okay. Do you recognize anyone at the table? So instantly I'm like, no, I've never, you got really lucky. It's a super easy table draw. right? I kind of like basically lied to him because why make him nervous? You know what I mean? Why make him
Exactly.
feel any sort of pressure? If he doesn't know one way or the other, then, you know, if Negreanu comes and sits down over there, okay, he'll know who Negreanu is. But, you know, he didn't follow that closely. He doesn't know these people, but it was very cool. He lasted, I think, until the middle or the end of level 9 on day 1C. But, you know, you're talking, you know, many hours and sitting and playing. He unfortunately just wasn't able to get much going. Eric Afriat was at that table at some point and kind of came up to me and said, "Hey, is this your dad?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "He's good, a little tight, but good." You know, but
I
you
love
know,
that.
it's the kind of thing. So no, you don't get a hand in mob result, but like what a story and experience to have. And, you know, I've never played in a 10. I never played in anything close to a 10K. So I'm just happy that my dad was able to experience that, and I was able to have a front row seat. It's pretty cool.
It was very cool. It was very cool, and we were all cheering from afar. I guarantee you that. Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah. Who's under car play lifestyle? Because
I
they
don't understand the question.
Who is?
who's under car play
Yeah.
lifestyle, because they put a question and they put, what about Cole Raz on Robbie? Heard that was important.
Okay, so that's my good friend Chad
Please
McBean.
explain.
That's
I
my good.
invited them to become a speaker. They did not grab the mic. But go ahead. Tell us what's behind that comment.
So that I was like, "What do you mean? That's me. That's my breath." So that's my good friend Chad McBean. He is our social media director, and he's got access to that account. And he does the best public shout out to Chad McBean. His own personal account is Wiener85 on Twitter. He is just really good at it, and he's always just been such a wonderful fan of everything that we've produced. So a couple years ago, I'm like, "Hey, what do you think about running our social media accounts?" And he does a phenomenal job of that. Yeah, if he wants to, it's call Raz on Robbie is a long running joke because I think at some point I let slip, so to speak, in you know, quotation marks, that Raz is my least favorite game. The people who hate themselves or hate poker call Raz because as their game of dealer's choice. So Chad has taken that ball and run with it, and we've gotten some pretty good mileage out of that joke. So it's kind of a long running thing. Anyone who's attended a mixed game festival or you know, or multiple ones, they know to put Raz as one of the games, and I always make a bit of a show of saying, "Oh, what'd you do that for?" and, you know, throwing it away. But, you know, that's sort of.
I love it. Calling you out. I love it. We love that
Thanks,
in the
Dad.
spaces.
Yeah, also I've had the privilege of being round the mixed game tables, cash game tables, and they are not quiet.
Yes,
You will not find a quiet table at
that is correct. That's one of the things, honestly, that I love the most about mixed games. You know, to me, obviously, there's plenty of people who, you know, view poker as a profession, a means to make money. No one wants to lose. But to me, as a serious recreational player, at its core, poker is a great game to just enjoy social camaraderie, to be with your friends, have a good time, challenge your brain. And mixed games lend themselves to just more talking. The fact that the game changes every 8 hands, the fact that, you know, you can make a big mistake, but you're not eliminated or something after a hand that just gets huge, which is somewhat rare in mixed games. You talk it out. I've played poker as high as 8160 with many thousands and tens of thousands of dollars on that table. And even at those tables, they're still talking and joking around. I've seen people playing even higher, 300, 600, 400, 800. And it's like a home game. There's just something really great and social about that. And that's something I love. And the fact is, if you walk into a poker room and there's no noise, but in the corner there's noise, you know that that's the mixed game table. You know that they're the ones having the good time.
Or, you know, Donna and Sherry are at that table.
Fair play. Fair play.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be invited to actually sit and watch how they played mixed games, and there was everybody was explaining to me on the table what was happening, and one thing and another. And it's just such a fascinating game to me. And I just want to thank everybody for welcoming me to sit there and ask questions and actually tell me what's going on.
I think that's great. And honestly, right back at you for having that curiosity and not being scared off. Because, it can be a little intimidating. But when you have people who have that right positive attitude, who are like, come, listen, explain, you never know, Donna. Maybe next time they run one, you'll have a seat yourself and you'll enjoy it and sit around and okay, you'll be prepared and have that, elasticity to learn one more game. Oh, it's a flop game. That's easy enough to learn, no problem. But it takes that, dipping your toes in the water. It's not always, oh, I'm not good at this game. So many people are, I never heard of it. What is Badoogie? What does that mean? But that natural curiosity, it's a great thing to have. And as you see, thankfully it got rewarded by being at a great table who is happy to, bring you in and explain everything.
Well, it was Jason and everybody else. So, you know what I mean? It was.
Oh, yeah. Great group.
Yeah. And also, it's just so much fun. It is really so much fun. And I think I'm so pleased now that there are mixed games. No Limit Hold'em has had a holdover poker for many, many years. And we've been struggling to get PLO going. And that's something that has started over here. And we're playing more PLO tournaments, which is fantastic.
That's great.
And I'm sure that mixed games will soon be a staple of the poker community.
I still hope so.
There's only so much No Limit that you can play.
Yep.
Donna, tell Robbie about the initiative that you had been working on with Marcel, because I think the concept is awesome.
Yeah. What we're still trying to do it, but we're on a hiatus at the moment, is trying to get football clubs involved into getting more people playing poker. Now, the first thing is to actually get past the poker aspect of the gambling aspect, because a lot of people still see poker as gambling. In a way, it is, but you're also using math. It's also a good way of using your brain and sharpening things. And once we've got past that, then we've got to try and get the club to promote it and get people involved in it. And that's where the stumbling block is. So at the moment, we're on a hiatus, but hopefully when the new season comes, we will be back at it.
So what they've done, Robbie, they would host poker at the football stadium.
Oh, at the stadium itself. That's pretty cool.
At the stadium itself, and we get the clubs to donate some prizes, such as like tickets, meals, even signed shirts. But as I say, it is difficult to get past the actual name of poker and classed as gambling.
Right.
So we're still working on that. It's extremely frustrating at times, but as I say, it will start up again in the autumn.
But
I can tell you also from having organized, numerous festivals and even just trying to get that mixed game together, if you have a lot of people who may be interested in it, that packing the snowball together, as an analogy, is always the difficult part. But once you've got the table running, right, and people know, okay, it's going on, then there's that people kind of walk in, hey, what's this all about? Right? What's going on here? And then like all of a sudden it starts rolling down the hill, gathering steam, as it were. So, you keep at it and hopefully it'll happen someday soon.
I think it's an amazing initiative, and they've had a couple of really successful events. Did you want to add anything, Donna?
No, just that it's on pause for now. Just trying to regroup and think about how that we can actually approach it differently to better promote poker, not such as gambling. It's even free. It's a free roll, and people still don't want to turn up. And I'm like, why not? It's free. You're not spending anything. Seriously, you're not spending anything. You're having a great time. And those that turn up have a fantastic time. I mean, even I play.
And I think you touched on it perfectly, that it's all in the promotion of the event. And I think once they figure that out, I think it's going to be just run wild.
Let's hope so. But it's down to the
Let's hope
club
so.
as well.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's down to the club as well for the promotion, because we can only do so much. But then it's down to the club to promote to their fans. And
100%.
if the club's not holding up their deal, their end of the deal, then whatever's spent is a loss, which is unfortunate, but it happens.
All right, we're going to jump back to Robbie's relationship with the Moneymaker Tour. And their relationship is bringing a mixed game festival to the Bellagio in Las Vegas, June 16th through the 20th. I want you to give us another recap, Robbie, for anybody that's joining us late. A recap of what's going to take place during your mixed game festival.
Sure. So again, it's June 16th through 20th at the Bellagio. And the main course, it's going to be 4-8 cash games, limit, dealer's choice cash games, higher available upon request. You want to play 8-16, that's also fine. And so that's what people are coming for. If you the kind of thing that you play in your home games, it's the peak poker time of year. This is when the most mixed game lovers come, and we're gathering them all together in one of the best rooms in the history of poker to play. And beyond just the dealer's choice play, it's going to be cash games throughout. We're going to have a whole bunch of elements that make it festive. It's a festival after all. So we're going to start off with the kickoff pizza party. That's going to be at noon on Sunday, June 16th. We're going to have appearances. I can't really name exactly who is going to be coming by, but a number of professional poker players will be coming at some point during the festival, kind of popping in. So, be there as many hours as you can if you want to make sure you catch them, but they will be showing up. That's always a thrill to get to splash around with like the bracelet winners and the super pros and, hey, I beat them out of a pot kind of a thing. The numerous sponsors, I want to just kind of give a shout out to all of them because they've always been so great at supporting everything I do. So we'll get to Moneymaker Tour. That's our title sponsor at the end. But shout out to PokerCoaching.com, Poker Go, Run Good Gear, D&B Poker Publishing, BBO Poker Tables, and Faded Spade Playing Cards. All those great companies, they've got products, whether it's coaching memberships or 2-deck setups or subscriptions to Poker Go, to getting table mats for your home games. They're providing a whole bunch of stuff for me to be able to give away to all the attendees. So win or lose, you'll usually walk away with some form of merch saying, hey, I got this at the Mixed Game Festival. So that's pretty cool.
I love that. And I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. Sure. Don't you have some authors coming for book signings?
Well, it's in the works. I don't want to say it out loud yet because it's not 100% confirmed. But I'm hopeful. Well, the authors would be those who've written for D&B Poker in the past, because they are one of our sponsors. So we've got a number of books that we'll have on premises, and hopefully we'll be able to get the authors to come and do signings. But we haven't yet been able to confirm that information yet.
Oh, so we'll look forward to that down the line here. So finish with your sponsors, please, sir.
And the last one is just the Moneymaker Tour. That's our title sponsor. And what they're doing is every single day during the Mixed Game Festival at some point, I'm not going to say exactly when, but at some point before 7 p.m., so we start at noon each day, I'll just be basically doing a random table and seat draw. So if you're in that seat at that time, I'll be coming up to you and asking you a question about Chris Moneymaker. And if you can get that question correct, it may be multiple choice, so don't worry. You don't need to do a PhD thesis on him. But if you can answer that question correctly, you'll get a $400 seat to a side event at the Moneymaker Tour. And it just so happens that they've got their next stop coming up at MGM Grand, basically a week after our Mixed Game Festival ends. So you could redeem that pretty much right away. And it's just great to have them on board. And as Tony had said earlier, just being kind enough to promote mixed games. It's wonderful.
Well, and I agree, with him that it's just such a great fit. Like it's such a great fit for this to be a joint adventure, not only with Moneymaker Tour, but with the MGM properties. I think
Yep.
it's just going to be something that lives on for a long time in the poker world. So,
I hope so.
congratulations.
Thank you, Sarah.
I think it's awesome. Now, we try to stay around an hour with our interviews, Robbie, for everybody's sake. Donna, do you have any final? Oh, I'm sorry. Card player. Um, the card player account came up. Please introduce yourself and go ahead and razz your partner.
Hey, Chad, press the mic button, left button corner.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I had to pop in and make sure that Raz on Robbie was mentioned, just so that all new mixed game players know to do that. It's a mandatory thing that is rewarded because you will get a great show from Robbie. The Mixed Game Festival is a great time, and as has been mentioned in this interview, um, it is the loud part of the room, but it's the loud, happy part of the room. And you never know who's going to show up. I know I've taken a hand away from Eliel Ezra, and I've sat down with Justin Saliba, and you never know who else is going to be there. But it is a great time, and everyone should go, even if it's just for an hour. You'll go for an hour, you'll stay for the day, and have a great time.
I love that. And I know Linda Johnson always goes and Jan Fisher. And yeah, there's a lot of folks that love your festival.
We might even get a Norman Chad appearance. Also unconfirmed, but he's slippery and sneaky like that. Maybe he'll just kind of show up someday. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, Robbie, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you and getting to know you better. And of course, helping to promote your mixed game festival at the Bellagio, June 16th through the 20th. It is our pleasure, sir.
Appreciate it. Sherry, you've been wonderful. And thanks to everyone who's submitted questions and who's been listening, who listens live or after the fact. I appreciate it. Thanks for your interest, and I hope to see you in about a little over a month at the Bellagio.
Whoop,
And
whoop.
remember, more pizza is better.
I love that, Donna, so much. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. If you're going to listen on the replay, please enjoy. And, WSOP and the Mixed Game Festival is coming soon. So we'll see you in Vegas. Thank you, everyone.
All the best.
Bye.